and the emotions that the animal goes through right before it gets slaughtered, right before it gets murdered, they stay encoded in the meat. And these are the emotions of fear, distress, unsettlement. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of No Filter with Kate. This is a series on my YouTube channel that's a little more conversational. I go into topics that are related to spirituality, energetics, existentialism, philosophical topics, and of course, all the questions that you send me on Instagram. And I weave them with my own personal opinions, my personal stories, my personal accounts. This is basically like one-on-one time with me, so it's super flowy. I got the tea, so grab your tea and let's dive in. In this episode, I will address the energetics of food. So I will dig into specific ingredients, specific foods, and how they affect us on a subtle and energetic level. None of this is supposed to be dietary advice or nutritional advice. I won't go into nutrition. I won't go into physical body. Although, in my opinion, physical health goes hand in hand with spiritual health. But today, I really want to focus on the subtle energetic body that we all have, and it's affected by everything that we consume. There will be four topics in today's video. The first one will be animal products and their effects on the energetic body. The second one will be all about how we absorb those people's emotions who cook our meals. How does it work? The third one will be an invitation for you to look at your own eating habits, and I'll share a very beautiful ritual that I do every single time I sit down to eat. And the fourth topic will be all about leftovers, meal prep, and just the life force of food. All right, so let's dig in. I'll start with a disclaimer that I am not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian. This is not health advice, this is not weight loss advice or anything of that sort. I'm just looking into the energetics of everything. As you watch this video, I invite you to set aside your habits, your beliefs. I invite you to set aside everything that society is feeding us about food, everything cultural, and just keep your mind open to receive the information that I'm about to share. So, starting with animal products, I want to start with the idea, or rather, the fact that the only way for us to live in an energetically sustainable way as human beings is only possible on a plant based diet. And I'm not, again, talking about physical health or anything like that. I'm speaking energy. So, I think it's important that I elaborate a little bit on what I mean by energetic body. As all of you know, we are not just this physical body, right? We have different layers. We have the energetic and the subtle body. According to the tradition that I'm initiated in, there are 10 different bodies. So, energetic body or the subtle body, I like to use them interchangeably. And this is the chakra system. The energetic body is the ethereal body. The health of your energetic body correlates with the physical health of your physical body. The energetic body is responsible for, in my opinion, everything, but it's so subtle that we can't just go to the doctors and be like, something's up with my energetic body. Can you check on it? The Western medicine doesn't know what to do with that information because we're so focused on the physical body. The energetic body is what you really get in touch with when you are meditating, when you're dancing, when you are practicing yoga. Um, it's very close to your soul. The soul and the energetic body communicate all the time. So, for the health and maintenance of the energetic body, we need to have a clean vessel within our physical body. So, in order to access higher levels of consciousness, our energetic body needs to be clean, needs to be healthy, it needs to be pristine in order to have the physical energy on a daily basis to do things, to create, to be creative and be excited about things and grow, be motivated. That's not just physical and mental, right? It's very much energetic as well, energetic body. When you imagine the energetic body, we have like the central channel, and you want to make sure that central channel is fully balanced so the energy can flow through you and you can receive messages from the ethers, if that is, I believe we all are capable of receiving those messages, your intuition, and that it passes through you in a very direct way. If your body is clogged and blocked energetically and physically, the information doesn't come through, and the messages from your intuition don't come through either. So you don't really know where to go in life. You don't really know what you want. When it comes to the energetic body, one of the blockages that can happen is with your, the thoughts that you think. Of course, we block our energetic body with our thoughts. Yes. The emotions, sickness in the body, but also depending on what we consume. And when it comes to animal products, let's start with meat. What we consume there is suffering. On a deeper level, it's suffering. And you can't keep your energetic body unclogged, free flow, with suffering being present inside of you on a subtle level. So, all the meats in the world, they all come from animals who were bred to be slaughtered. Energetics is not about whether you cut the throat of an animal before you slaughter it, whether you give it a beautiful life before you slaughter. Energetics of meat doesn't care about that. An animal was raised for your consumption. That is putting a sentient being through a very predictable cycle, through a very predictable journey, and with the intention. And I believe everything in life is about intention, with the intention of slaughtering it later and consuming it. It doesn't matter how much love you're giving the animal, the intention is there, and the intention of slaughter is there. This leaves an imprint on the animal. Say more traditional ways of farming, slaughterhouses, and everything, when you kill an animal, the animal releases all sorts of hormones, it's stress, it's fear, everything that the sentient being releases ends up on our plate. There's no way you can just slaughter an animal without it releasing some form of fear, severe anxiety. And the energetics and even the physical proof of it is in the meat. what we do, we then consume. We consume the animal's fear. We consume its distress. We consume its sudden, whoa, now I'm being slaughtered. I was like hanging out in the grass, and now it's like my owner is like choosing to end my life. Okay, this is human terms that I'm using there. I'm almost like personalizing the experience, which is wrong. But there is something of that sort that goes on in the animals and the sentient beings field. So there might even be some form of deception that's happening there. And the emotions that the animal goes through right before it gets slaughtered, right before it gets murdered, they stay encoded in the meat. And these are the emotions of fear, distress, unsettlement. All of this hangs then on our energetic body. It lives in your energetic body. Another aspect of animal products, if you think of the person who's slaughtering the animal, some people argue, oh, we've been hunting, like, we hunted back in the days, like, what's the issue? Back in the days, we were living in survival mode. Back in the days, we were operating from our lower chakras, the first three lower chakras, where it was all about eating, pooping, having sex, aka reproducing, and trying to survive, and battling and fighting. Nowadays, we have evolved. Our consciousness has evolved. We don't need to be just in these three chakras, which are the survival chakras. We are able to experience higher states of consciousness. We're able to experience love and compassion, but such deep compassion that slaughtering an animal nowadays and saying things like, oh, but we used to do it back in the days, it's not justifiable because of our evolution, because of the evolution of consciousness. Whoever the person is who slaughters the animal that ends up on your plate, there is severe nervous system damage that happens. Even if it's a well trained butcher, maybe the butcher manages to remove himself from the situation, emotionally speaking, spiritually speaking. So there's almost like a numbing that happens, which is a protective mechanism. Or there is that clear internal pain of causing pain to another sentient being. So the emotions and the experience that the person who's slaughtering the animal is going through on an internal level, that too gets spilled onto the meat energetically, and then it all ends up on your plate. Most slaughterhouses, most places where they butcher animals, people who work there, they do experience severe stress in their bodies. Another energy that meat is closely associated with is aggression and anger. When you eat meat, it stimulates aggression, it stimulates anger. And in my opinion, it comes from the act of murdering the animal. Of course, it's the energetics of meat. It's very like, yeah, it's just so in the root chakra. But it's also, in my view, it comes from just the act that this animal was killed by someone, by a human being. All of this is in the field when we then consume the meat. You consume what was going on for the person who slaughtered the animal. You consume what was going on for the animal who was experiencing the slaughtering. And all of this is numbing to the energetic body. All of this is clutter, it's clogging the energetic body. Meat, because it's such a heavy, energetically heavy ingredient or food, it keeps our vibration very, very low. It's almost like it like pulls us really down. I'll get into a personal story, all right? So I quit eating meat when I was 13 years old, which makes it 18 years now that I haven't had meat. One of the first things that I've noticed when I quit meat was that I just felt lighter. Like I didn't feel like I was carrying a backpack full of unnecessary stuff on my back. That's one of the first things that I noticed. And that was before spiritual practices. I wasn't eating that well as a vegetarian at that time. When I first started, I didn't really know how to navigate the vegetarian world. I actually I had to be pescatarian for a little bit because I was living with my mom and she was kind of like okay with me quitting meat, but she wanted me to eat fish once a week, so I had to eat fish. But the meat was completely removed from my life, and I just felt like my vibration went up a little. I didn't understand it at the time. I felt it. I've always been very sensitive. I felt it, but I couldn't put words to it. What was going on with me? People have asked me why I quit meat, by the way. I quit it because I could feel into the suffering of the animals. As simple as that. It took one movie for me to see what's going on when they slaughter an animal. And from then on, I was like, okay, I'm going to start my transition into vegetarianism. It took a little while, maybe 2 to 3 months, but I just felt the suffering that was so intense and I couldn't handle it. I was like, I can't consume that. And I believe this is the best way to live for me personally. This is the best way that I show up in my work. This is the best way that I show up as a human being when I have my vessel completely clean from animal products. It feels great. I can hear my guides perfectly clear. I can hear my intuition perfectly clear. Everything is just pristine and on little shelves internally. Meat and fish interfere with our intuition. Dairy, the same, it does the same thing. It all interferes with our vibration. We all have a vibration and it lowers our vibration. It interferes with our inner guidance. And we can't have the levels of sensitivity that we have when we eat a clean vegetarian diet. What do I mean by sensitivity? Some people are like, why do I want to be sensitive? I want to be strong. You know what I mean? The levels of sensitivity that I'm talking about here are the levels of sensitivity that are actually serving you. So, for example, feeling into a person when you first meet a person, and that right away knowing is this person for you. Say, let's use the example of dating. Because I'm a tarot reader, and I know so many women come to me asking about men that they just met, what's gonna happen, is he the one or not, asking for advice and guidance. When your levels of sensitivity are so well developed, you're perfectly capable of feeling into the person that you're on a date with. And in 5 seconds, your body and your intuition will tell you. Yes or no? Is this the right one or is this the wrong one? When your levels of sensitivity are not fully developed, that's when this whole thing happens of like, is he the one? I kind of like him. He's kind of attractive. He's a good person. There's maybe like a little red flag over there, but it's okay. He'll work on that. It's like, oh, but should I really give him another chance? Do I really like him? All this chaos, all this extra energy being wasted on thinking, like asking yourself all these questions. That's usually a sign that, your inner guidance is just a little off and that your levels of sensitivity are very low. And when we work with food as a tool to heighten our levels of sensitivity, alongside other tools like meditation, other practices, it just it just goes like this, quicker. Things just go quicker. Is this the trip that I need to do next month? Yes, no. You get the clarity. There's no more this in between space of not really knowing what is your intuition telling you and what is your ego screaming at you. And this is the sensitivity that I keep mentioning here. It's not the sensitivity of like, oh, I'm like my friends, I'm such an empath. Not that stuff. I'm talking about real inner guidance, real knowing, feeling it in your body when something is right for you and when something is not yours, not right for you, and you just set it aside and move on simply because your inner guidance is so strong and your sensitivity is so high. So, animal products mess with our sensitivity so much. The same with sugar. Sugar is like a bullet through your third eye. The third eye is where your intuition is. The third eye is your straight thinking. Third eye is access to higher realms. It's your inner guidance. Any processed sugar, any artificial sweeteners, all these chemicals that we consume instead of sugar, all of this is like a bullet through your third eye. On top of everything else that it does to your health, right? And some people might be like, okay, occasional. What about balance? Honestly, when it comes to meat, when it comes to sugar, and when it comes to alcohol, balance doesn't exist there. The long term effects, even of your occasional consumption, are so drastic that they make a difference if you completely quit sugar versus having sugar occasionally. It affects your energetic body. It affects your third eye. I didn't address alcohol yet. Although it's not really food, but it's something that many people consume. I just want to throw that note out there. Alcohol is the worst poison. Obviously, cigarettes too, but let's just stick to alcohol for now in this episode. Alcohol, there's a reason why we call it spirit. Alcohol literally has a spirit that possesses you. Drunkenness. Some people are more real, more themselves when they're drunk, and then others are a little more crazy when they're drunk. Everyone has like a personality shift. It's the spirit taking over you when you drink. Alcohol is like rust settling into your cells on an energetic level. And it doesn't matter whether it's a little glass of wine once in a while or something stronger, any alcohol does the same thing. And this too lowers your vibration. It puts you in like inside of a box of numbness, and your energetic body just like shrinks. Your auric field shrinks. People ask me if I quit alcohol because of the yoga that I teach, the yoga that I practice, the meditation that I practice and teach. And honestly, no. What happened is that my levels of consciousness started to really go up. My levels of sensitivity started to really go up. And not to say this in a bragging way or anything, really. I was going through hell. It wasn't fun. Um, but once my levels of sensitivity started to suddenly rise like a rocket, I remember taking a sip of a beer that, back in the days I used to drink beer, and I would be like, what's in this? What's in this can? It was a canned beer. And turned out there was nothing but beer. It was a Corona. That was my last beer. And I was mind blown because it tasted like gasoline. It didn't taste like beer to me anymore. I could taste the essence of the beer, which was just pure alcohol. I quit drinking since that moment. Of course, I had some glasses of wine here and there these past 5 years, but each time is just like almost like an experiment, just to observe and study how the spirit, just one glass, and you can feel such a huge difference in your vibration. And I've been studying this. I'm like, okay, I can sense that it shrinks me on an energetic level. The same with fried food. This is dead food. Fried food is dead food. Processed food is dead food. Occasionally balance, it doesn't work. It's so deep what it does to your energetic body. It settles there. If you care about your energetic body, I would suggest you completely quit all these things like fried food, especially seed oils, fried, and alcohol, meat. The more time passes, the more all of us will start to notice how sensitive we are to these things. And so people are like, oh, but this is such a restrictive way of living. No. um, just personally speaking, what I experience when I don't eat these foods, when I don't drink alcohol, it doesn't feel like restriction to me personally. It feels more of like taking care of myself. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like when I watch people eating steak or deep fried, I don't know what, and drinking wine, I don't have the feeling of like, oh, I wish I was doing this right now. I see that and I can feel that inside of my body, or rather, what's happening in their body when they're eating this. And I feel it, and all I want to do is go puke. It's never a restriction. Uh, I don't feel restricted in my lifestyle. So people assume because they don't understand once you reach specific levels of sensitivity, you just become you're repelled by all of these foods because you can see right through them. You see a steak, you see suffering. This is kind of how I experience these um this reality when uh, when I'm looking at what people are consuming, what I'm consuming, being in contact with these specific foods and ingredients. The less processed your food, the better it is for your energetic body. Alcohol And all of these foods, they're very parasitic to your energy. And it's not just the energy, being able to run energy, but the lethargy, the not being motivated to do anything, not really knowing what the meaning of life is. My previous episode, I was talking about the meaning of life, not really knowing, like, just being stuck in some thought loops, and your mind isn't clear. You're low key depressed, anxious, all of these things. You're just not feeling good in your body, not feeling good about yourself. This is energetic body things. And everything that you consume has an imprint. Topic number 2: what are the emotions of those who cook your food? Think the restaurants that you go to. Think going to a fast food restaurant. People who cook there, they're severely underpaid. Most of them don't want to be there. Do you really think they cook your little fries and burger thinking, I'm infusing it with love? No, they tired. They're not feeling good. They're unhealthy because those environments are extremely unhealthy. And they make your food and you eat it. And that energy of the person who put their intention into making the food, again, intention, you consume that and it stays inside of you. The same as a person who made your meal when they're angry, when they don't want to be there. They're they just there because they have to be there. Or, even someone at home when they're so stressed and they cook, and or they're angry and they cook, you feel it all in your food. It's all imprinted in the food. It's not tangible, but it's very much there on the subtle level. And again, it all settles in your body. And then you start to think the thoughts that come into your mind for the next, I don't know, 24 hours. You start thinking the person's thoughts who made the food. We're all interconnected. I'm trying to explain all of this in human words as much as I can. It's very difficult, as you can tell. Some of you are probably like, what the fuck? I already lost you like 20 times. Um, Very difficult to explain. Putting it all into human words. Um, because we're all interconnected. You can feel the energy of, or you consume the energy of the person who cooked your food. Whether you want it or not, it's there. I personally have trained myself to feel that. When I lived once in the jungle of Hawaii, I was living in an intentional community and we had different chefs cooking for us. And I trained my sensitivity to such a level where I could tell who cooked, not based on ingredients or whatever, um, but I could tell who the chef was that day just by feeling into myself when I was eating. What type of emotions show up, what type of sensations show up, and I could tell, oh, it's the stressed girl today. It's like, oh, it's the guy who carries a lot of heaviness in his energetic body. I feel very heavy while I eat it. And again, these are things that you develop with time, the sensitivity levels to really feel into food. And that's a little practice that I want to give you, okay? When you walk out of this episode, try and really feel into, especially if you're gonna go eat at a restaurant or you're ordering food, feel into the energetics of it. Sometimes you'll notice it will feel like you didn't eat anything, you just ate empty stuff. I want to share a ritual that I do each time that I sit down to eat at restaurants, at home, anywhere. What I do is imagine this is the plate. What I like to do is to bring my hands at the heart center and express gratitude. Because gratitude, you spew the energy into your plate and somehow you can neutralize to some extent everything that the cook, the person who's flipping the burgers. I mean, I don't suggest you eat fast food anyway because that's the worst, but it can neutralize the person's energy and bring more of a like a positive and nourishing vibration to your food. What I do is I just put my hands in front of my heart center. I close my eyes and I send the intention of gratitude into the plate. I thank everyone who has brought this meal to me. So that includes the farmers, the delivery people, wherever this food is coming from, the restaurant, if it's from the restaurant, all the workers there. If I cooked it myself, I'll make sure to thank the people who sold it to me. So I just really visualize where the trajectory of all of this food that's on my plate, and I bathe it all in gratitude. I immerse it all in gratitude. That is a ritual that I do at every single meal. I've been doing this for years. And it's amazing because it can, just your intention can neutralize some things on your plate. But it also puts you in that state of receptivity, in that state of gratitude. And this is a very strong state to be in. So, thanking your food, thanking those who have brought you this food, those who cooked for you, there's someone cooking for you. That's a beautiful ritual. And that brings even more gratitude and nourishment into your energetic body. The fourth topic is that of prana. Prana, life force. Every human has it. Food also has prana. Food also has life force, or it lacks it completely. It's extremely important that we eat food full of prana in order to maintain our energetic and physical body. What is food full of prana? What do I even mean by that? Let me tell you first what it's not. It's not leftovers. Leftovers are dead. It's like dead food. It's not the meal prep that you're doing for the week ahead. That's the worst thing you can do for your energetic body. Imagine it's food that you have cooked and stored in containers. And once the food is cooked, you should eat it right away, freshly cooked. You shouldn't leave it around, let it migrate from fridge to fridge to stove, reheating it. It's the worst. Some foods release toxins. The heat destroys all the nutrients. And when you just let food stand there, it becomes emptied. There's nothing in it anymore. You're eating, yeah, maybe you're getting full, but you're not getting anything out of it energetically. So, food that's alive, that's full of prana, it's also not your typical frozen stuff, like frozen veg, fruits, everything. Leftovers, it's a big pandemic in our society, and I'm guilty too. Sometimes I have my leftovers. I prefer eating them cold if I do have leftovers. I don't reheat them to destroy them even more. I just eat things cold. It's best to cook and just eat right away if you want to gain all of the energetic benefits from your food. So food that's full of prana, that has a vibration that's high, that when you eat it, you feel, like you're blossoming rather than you're like withering and dying, right? So food needs to be fresh in its rawest form or freshly cooked if it's grains and all these things that we need to cook. We can't eat raw. And the more we eat prana less food, the more we do leftovers, the more we do takeout. Takeout is the same concept. Most restaurants, they use ingredients from the day before. They don't care. They have something cooked not 3 years, 3 days ago, and they serve it again and again and again and again. And that's when you have that sensation of emptiness after having eaten. I'm sure you can resonate with that. That's when that sensation of like, oh, I'm still hungry, but I just ate comes in. It's because your energetic body is it's weak, it's not nourished. And to some extent, yeah, your physical body isn't nourished either. So choosing foods that are freshly cooked, organic as well. I won't get into pesticides and all of these things in this video. But it's the same. It's so detrimental that we pay attention to what we put into our mouths, into our systems. Our energetic body is just like our physical body. So, to sum everything up, the most sustainable, energetically sustainable lifestyle for a person is the plant based lifestyle. Personally, I am trying to get there. I am not vegan, although I really want to. I eat eggs. I'm actively working on my gut so I can fully transition into a fully plant based diet because that's what makes me feel the best. And I can really feel the effects on the energetic body. I'm fully aware for some people this is impossible simply because they need to first fix their health. And that's what I'm doing myself as well. When a person is 100% healthy, they can go vegan and nothing's going to happen to them. Not the junk food vegan, the healthy type of vegan. And I believe this is how people are meant to live and thrive in today's day and age. And today's evolution of consciousness, maybe thousands of years ago when we only lived in our three centers, we were capable of just slaughtering an animal, eating it raw, even, I don't know. But nowadays, things have changed. And we need to make sure that everything that we consume is benefiting our energetic body, our spiritual health, our physical health, our emotional and mental health too. So please share your thoughts. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope this episode was inspiring. I hope it was insightful and it made you contemplate some aspects of your life. If you need any advice regarding any of this, don't hesitate reaching out. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon again.